Hey everyone, it's Andrew here. So do you remember SPACs? Looking back on that, what a weird, hypey thing that was happening. Look, I made a video about a year ago going through what I thought were the two most famous SPACs, well, the SPAC creators in Chamath Palihapitiya and Bill Ackman. And I thought it'd be fun to do like a where are they now style video talking about what has happened to the craze of SPACs. Now, before I get started, I recommend Interactive Brokers as the best and safest broker for you to use if you're just starting investing. There's a link in the description if you want to take a demo account for a spin and see how it all works. I have demo videos here on my channel as well. I also have an e-magazine that I put out each month where I share my thoughts on the market. Plus I have my watch list there and I do updated intrinsic values there as well. There's a link in the description. And if you do like this video, please give the video a like and subscribe because it really does help me out. Okay, so right now there are still about 600 SPACs still hunting for a deal, and all the SPACs that had completed a merger in the past year are down on average 65% from their highs. I guess that is all about the same. It's about the same as what I'm down in Alibaba. And as you can see, there has been a record spike in planned SPACs pulling out of their plans in 2022. And this makes sense. I imagine last year in the height of all the crazy speculation, people from all over the investing space, including Peter Thiel, ex-New York Giants QB Eli Manning, 49ers QB or ex-QB Colin Kaepernick, Moneyball baseball exec Billy Beane, had wanted to create a SPAC. It was such a great way to raise money and charge fees for doing so. Now let me try to explain why everyone wanted to make a SPAC. So as it currently stands, a SPAC sponsor pays about $25,000 to receive 20% of the SPAC shares, assuming a deal is completed. For example, if a SPAC raised $500 million initially and the sponsor paid $25,000, they get $100 million in shares once the merger occurs. This is a huge profit margin and it's not severely impacted if the acquired company performs poorly. Even if the new company stock drops like 50%, the sponsor still makes like $50 million. To try to remove these incentives, Bill Ackman forfeited the 20% founder shares for Pershing Square Tontine Holdings, the SPAC that I thought would be the only one worth looking at. He also claimed that his hedge fund, Pershing Capital, would invest $1 billion of its own capital to complete the merger. So it originally announced it would acquire 10% of Universal Music Group for $4 billion in an unusually engineered deal, but it soon dropped that plan after the SEC was scrutinizing the deal. Now, Ackman has since looked to convert the SPAC into what he calls a SPAC, or Special Purchase Acquisition Rights Company, anyway, which allows investors to wait to pledge capital until an acquisition target has been selected. Look, it's all unnecessary to go into the details because, look, it's a waste of time to bother going into these details unless you just love that sort of thing. Nevertheless, sponsor-friendly rules are still the norm, so a SPAC process remains incredibly attractive for well-known individuals and firms as a way to make significant amounts of money with relatively low risk. See, $25,000 to make millions and millions of dollars, I think, is a pretty good asymmetric bet. But now that the market has pulled back quite dramatically, a lot of those plans have been squashed as the easy money has just come off the table. So the person who I think is just way too smug for my liking is Chamath Palihapitiya. Look, I used to like Chamath. He is a good speaker, comes across really smart, and I think he believes he's a good person. But he has pocketed huge returns for the SPACs that he completed in 2020 and 2021, and the shareholders of the SPACs are the ones who didn't make anything. He probably will still continue to make a fortune from SPACs in the future as well. See, he's built up this following and he speaks well and takes a huge cut of the deal when a SPAC goes through. He leverages his reputation to make this big money through that 20% cut that isn't obvious for the regular Robinhood retail gambler. So maybe I'm being naive here and this is just smart business, but the fact that Bill Ackman specifically went out of his way to forfeit those 20% of shares for the Pershing Square Tontine Holdings because it was a misalignment of interests, well, tells me that there are some moral issues here, and Bill Ackman, I think, has a moral backbone. See, I do worry that with the deadlines now approaching for a lot of those SPAC deals, sponsors are just going to turn to a deal that just isn't that good, like paying overs for a company that just isn't worth that much. For example, in 2020, the electric that electric truck company, Nikola. Do you remember that? That went public through a SPAC in, I think, March 2020. Despite not earning any revenue and lacking a obviously clearly viable truck model, it saw its market cap jump to 29 billion in the hype of everything, and that was higher than Ford. And then the CEOs resigned, the CEO and the chairman resigned, and the SEC opened an investigation into the company for fraud. Look, there was a lot of red flags into this company, but it still got swept up in the hype of SPACs. Virgin Galactic is another company that promises a lot, but has actually delivered next to nothing so far. Like, it's down from the SPAC merger price, but Chamath probably made like $300 million profit on this quite a small investment from his side. Then another Chamath SPAC, which is Open Door, is down from the initial investors' money, that $10 initial investment that people made. I think it's down to like $6 or $7, but another big win for Chamath. Then we got Clover Health, and that's another SPAC, and it's down like 80% for those investors in the SPAC. Again, there's no loss here from the sponsor. And then what about SoFi Technologies? And it's also down from the merger price. And again, this would have made a huge windfall for Chamath. The SPAC play has probably been like $1 billion play for Chamath to essentially use his reputation to raise money and take big cuts of the deal for himself. Now, before I get too critical here, maybe I am wrong and these companies will actually perform really well in the long term and are just far below the intrinsic value right now. That's totally possible. Virgin Galactic really might be able to do space tourism and, I don't know, make a lot of money doing so. I actually would love to go to space, so I actually hope it does succeed. I'm not against Virgin Galactic here. The problem is that these companies are all speculation because they just don't make any money. It's all hype and no substance. I guess we'll see what happens and whether Chamath actually looks like a genius. Well, he still looks like a genius, as he's pocketed most likely $1 billion and didn't create really any value for anyone else but himself. Now, with Pershing Square Tontine Holdings from Bill Ackman. A year ago, I thought this was the pick of the SPACs, and the incentives were aligned with the shareholders, and Ackman, I think, does have this moral backbone. But the deal is coming to expiration soon. I think it's the 24th of July, 2022. So that's about a month away. So if the deal expires and no deal is made on an extension, well, $20 will be returned to the shareholders. But interestingly, if you go and actually have a look at the share price right now of the SPAC, it's at $19.90. So if you buy this SPAC and nothing changes in a month, you'll get 10 cents for each share, excluding your brokerage fees. Look, there's no way I'm doing this because things can change in that time, but there is an opportunity for those that don't mind some risk and trust Bill Ackman. Then there is a bit of an arbitrage here. It's 0.5% return, but in just 1 month, we're looking at an annualized return of, I think, 5% excluding the fees. Look, it's not guaranteed money, so I'm not going to bother. My summary of all of this is that SPACs are going to drift into irrelevance and that Bill Ackman was one of the only SPAC sponsors that I respected. So PSTH, Pershing Square Tontine Holdings, was still, I think at the time, the best option of them all. But the whole thing is a waste of time and energy unless you are really into special purpose deals and like the nitty gritty of investing deals. Look, I'm a bit of a nerd in that way, so I get it if you wanted to go deep into that world. The moral of the story is that last year was a weird year and the hype is now, well, hopefully behind us. And when celebrities are getting involved in financial products, please run away in the opposite direction. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it and subscribe before you go, and I will see you in the next one.